Hi, welcome to my video on solving number word problems. We're going to do a series of videos now on solving word problems, and what we're going to do is use the systems of graphing, elimination, and substitution to solve them. Normally we would not solve word problems with the graphing method, so we're either going to do elimination or substitution method to solve. So let's do some examples. Solve each. Example: triple the smaller number is 4 less than the larger number. Twice the larger minus the smaller is 33. Find the numbers. So what we have to do, we have to there's two numbers here, smaller and larger. So we let x be the smaller number. The only reason I let x be the smaller number because it was the first one. And we'll let y be the larger number. I have to let x and y be one of them, so I have smaller first, so I did x, and the larger is y. Now, based on that, each sentence here gives me an equation. Triple the smaller number is 4 less than the larger. So triple the smaller. So triple the smaller, which is x, is an equal sign. 4 less than reverses the order, so it's the larger minus 4. So that's the first equation. And the second equation comes out of this sentence. Twice the larger minus the smaller is 33. So twice the larger number is y, is an equal sign, minus, I read twice the larger minus the smaller is x, is 33. And that's the second sentence. Now that I have the two equations written down, I have an option of solving these by substitution method or the elimination method. If I do the elimination method, I have to line both equations up with x, y equals a number and work them out. But if I do substitution method, I have to solve one of the equations for a variable and sub into the other one. So I'm going to solve number 2 for x. So here's number 2 equation. 2y minus x equals 33. I'm going to solve it for x. So negative x equals negative 2y plus 33. When I'm solving for x, the y moves to the right. Divide by negative 1, and I get x equals 2y minus 33. Now I solve, I'm doing the substitution, so I solve 2, so I have to sub this into number 1. So I'm going to sub 2y minus 33 for x into, I solved number 2, so I'm going to sub it into number 1. So we write down number 1 equation, which is this one. 3x equals y minus 4. So I'm going to sub 2y minus 33 in for x. So I'll do a bracket. So x is 2y minus 33 equals y minus 4. Multiply by 3, 6y minus 99 equals y minus 4. Y's to the left, numbers to the right. So 5y equals 95. Divide by 5, and y equals 5 and the 9 goes once, 5 and the 45 goes 9. So y is 19. Now, if I want to find the value of x, so what I can do now is sub y equals 19 into, and I have a choice to sub it into 1, sub it into 2, or sub it into this one. I'm going to sub it into this one right here, because it's, when I sub it in for y is 19, it's perfect to do. So that's 38 minus 33. I get x to be 5. So now I have to state the answer. I got x and y, so that's x and that's y, but I have to say so the smaller number, so the smaller number is x, so x is 5, and the larger number is 19. So this finishes the problem and works it out. So you worked everything out. Notice I explained everything what I was doing. You might talk to your teacher on this. You might do it a little bit different, as long as you end up with the same answers. So let's go with number 2. Read the problem. The larger number exceeds the smaller number by 7. 6 times the smaller is 10 more than twice the larger. Find the numbers. Again, I have to let x. So because the larger number is first this time, I'll let x be the larger number. And I'll let y be the smaller number. Again, it's your choice. You could let x be the smaller and y be the larger. But based on this, then I'll go with 2 equations. So the larger number exceeds the smaller number by 7. Exceeds means larger than. So I got an option now. Watch. The larger number exceeds the smaller. So I could go the larger, subtract the smaller, is 7. If I want, I could say the larger is the smaller plus 7. Because it's larger, the larger number is the smaller number, add on 7. So I could go, if I want, the larger is the smaller plus 7. So that's your choice. Either one of these will do. But if you do this one, you're probably setting yourself up for elimination. If you do this one, you're setting yourself up for substitution. So that's equation 1, but I'll pick one of these now in a minute. And then this next equation comes from this sentence, 6 times the smaller. So 6 times the smaller. So the smaller number is y. 6 times the smaller is the equal sign. 10 more than twice the larger. More than means add. So twice the larger is x. 10 more is add. So that would be the second equation that I write. So which one of these do you want to pick? If you pick this one, then you'll sub it in here and it's easy to do. If you pick this one, then you'll have to rearrange this to do elimination. So it's your choice. So let's, for a bit of fun, pick this one. So if I take x minus y equals 7, then I have to take this equation and rearrange it. So that means I got to go negative 2x plus 6y equals 10. So now I take that equation that I rearrange and write it down right here. Because if you're doing elimination, both equations should be ax plus by equals c. Don't have to be, not an absolute, but just the way that I'm doing it. So there's equation 1. And that's the equation 2 rearranged. So if I want to do elimination, I have to eliminate one of these. So I will multiply this equation by 2 and multiply this equation by 1. So 2 times this equation gives me 2x minus 2y equals 14. And when I multiply by 1, it doesn't change the equation. So I'll write it down again. Now I'm doing elimination. So I'll add up. I'm eliminating the x's. 0. Y becomes, when I add the y's up, I get a 4 and a 24 when I add. Divide by 4 and I get y equals 6. Now that I have an answer, I have to put y equals 6 back into one of these equations. So do I put it into this one? Do I put it into this one? Or do I put it into this one? The easier one to put it in would be this one. So I'm going to sub y equals 6 into number 1. So write down number 1, and I'm going to put 6 in the place of y. So x minus 6 equals 7. X equals 7 plus 6, so x is 13. So the two numbers are 6, and I said x is the larger, so the larger number is 13, and the smaller number is 6. And this is the answer. Notice you have to write this out because x and y could be different for different people. So if you had, so by doing this, both of us, no matter how we label them, x and y, is x is larger, y is smaller, or y is larger, x is smaller, vice versa. When you write out the answer, then the teacher knows what's happening. Everybody knows what's happening. So that's 2 problems done. Practice means pause your video now if you want. You can do that at any time in any of my videos. You can pause it, work out the answers before I do it. See if you know what you're doing. But the practice means I just explained to. Now you try these 2. Here we go. The large number is 5 times the smaller number. Half the larger number is 15 more than the smaller. Find the sum of the numbers. So you got to be careful. You got to read. I got to get the sum of the numbers. So that means to get the sum of the numbers, I have to get the 2 numbers and add them up. I just don't get the 2 numbers and say problem's over. I got to get the 2 numbers and add. So just a little tiny twist. You got to watch out for what you're asked. So the larger number and smaller number again. So I'm going to let x be the larger number. And I'm going to let y be the smaller number. Only because larger is mentioned first, then I'll let x be the larger and y be the smaller. So everywhere you see larger number, you put an x. So you put an x here, and you put an x here. When you see smaller number, you put a y. So you put a y for this right here, and you put a y for this right here. So the first sentence gives me the first equation. The larger number, which is x, is 5 times the smaller. So that's the first equation. Came out of the first sentence. This next sentence, half the larger. So half the larger number is x, is 15 more than the smaller. More than means add. So the smaller number is y. So you're going to add on 15. So that's the second equation. Now, which way you're going to solve? Well, I would solve these, because that's solved for x already, I would sub this one into this one. So I'm going to sub 5y 4x into number 2. So I write down number 2. So I'm going to put x equals 5y. So I'm going to put 5y for x. So remember, number 1 is solved already for x, so you sub that into 2. Very important. And when you multiply a half by 5, you get 5 over 2y equals y plus 15. Now, because I have fractions, I got 2 choices. I can multiply, I can bring the y's over here and let the variable stay there, or right now I can eliminate the fractions right now and multiply everything by every part. I'm going to multiply each part of the equation by 2. I could go 2 times 5 over 2 and write the answer down. I could go 2 times y and write the answer down. I could go 2 times 15 and write the answer down. But if I'm, for future reference later on in the math, putting the 2 in front of each one of these like I'm doing here helps you when the math gets heavier. So 2 cancels into 2 once, so you get a 5y. 2 times y is 2y. 2 times 15 is 30. So the y's go to the left. 30 stays. Positive becomes a negative when you move it over. So 3y is 30. So that means that y is divided by 3. So y equals 10. Now, which one are you going to sub it into? I think it's better to sub it into this one right here for y, because you only got two numbers. If you sub it in for y here, you have more work to do. So I'm going to sub y equals 10 into number 1. So I write down number 1, and y is 10, so 5 times 10, 50. So I found one number to be 10, another number to be 50. And as you can see, you can tell the larger number is 50, the smaller number is 10. So which one do you want to name first? The larger number is 50. The smaller number is 10. So you could have wrote down the smaller number first and the larger. It made no difference. But notice, because that's already solved, I'm going to sub it into this one. It makes it way easier. If you did elimination here, you would have to go ax plus by equals c. You would have to line them all up and then eliminate. So it's easier to do that one by substitution. Let's do number 2. Twice the sum of the larger number and the smaller number is 68. The larger subtract the smaller is 14. So we let twice the sum of the larger and the smaller. So again, the first number here is larger, so I'm going to let x be the larger. And I'm going to let y be the smaller number. But that's your choice. I only did larger because it's the first one mentioned. X is the first one mentioned with me. And let's see what we have. We're going to look at the sentence. Twice the sum of the larger and the smaller. Twice the sum. So that means that 2 twice the sum of the larger, which is x, and the smaller is y. So that's twice the sum is 68. So that's my first equation. That comes out of the first sentence. The next one, the larger subtract the smaller is 14. So the larger is x. Subtract the smaller, which is y, is 14. So that's number 2. So that's the 2 equations coming out of the sentences. Now I got to solve them. Oop! I forgot. Just look back. Find the sum of the numbers. So that's the larger and the smaller. So the sum is 50 plus 10. I just lost the mark because I just took it for granted. I had to find the 2 numbers. I never looked at it and said, find the sum. So here's my 2 numbers. So the sum is add, so 50 plus 10. So the answer to this problem is 60, even though I had the 50 and the 10. I lost the mark because I didn't answer the question. Be careful. I just noticed that when I look back. So always be careful. When you're finished your problem, read it over and make sure you're answering what it's saying. I got to find the 2 numbers, the larger and the smaller. So let's solve these equations. How do you want to solve them? I got to get rid of the brackets here. They're already lined up. There's a trick here, if you can see it. Notice that's x minus y. If I divided this by 2, and if I divided 2 here and 2 here, I would get x plus y. Then it'd be easy to. But I'm just going to do that just for a second. Watch. If you took this equation and divided it by 2, so 2 gives you x plus y equals 34. So if we took this equation and you divide it by 2 like this, you get x plus y is 34. Because that's a 34, because 2 times 34 is 68. Now, if you took this equation and put it below it, like that, the y's are automatically opposites. So dividing this equation by 2 gives you this new one. And now when you line them up, the y's cancel and you get 2x equals 48. Divide by 2 and x becomes 24. Now you can sub that into this one or this one. It's easier to sub it into here. So you're going to sub x equals 24 into 2. So x minus y equals 14. And so x is 24, so 24 minus y equals 14. So negative y is 14 minus 24. Negative y is negative 10. So divide by negative 1. So y is 10. So the larger number is x, which is the 24, and the smaller number is 10. Again, you have the state, and I says find the numbers, so there's the answer. But notice I did a little trick here. But if you didn't notice that, so let's go another way. If you took this equation and took number 1 equation and you did 2x plus 2y equals 68. Let's say you multiply that by 2. Now you got number 1 equation fixed. You got number 2 equation, so you put that down below. And when you do, putting them below each other, you're going to do elimination. So which one do you want to eliminate? You want to eliminate the y's. If you're going to do this one, because that's a 2, you want a negative 2 here. So you take this equation and you multiply by 1. You take this equation and multiply by 2. When you do, you get 2x plus 2y equals 68. 2 times this equation gives you 2x minus 2y equals 28. And when y's cancel, you get 4x equals, when you add that, you get 80, 96. And 4 into 96 gives you 24. And now you got to get the y, so you're going to sub x equals 24 into which equation? Again, this is the better one, into number 2. So you write down number 2. As I did here, we're doing the same thing. So notice, I just did the different. Here, I took a shortcut because I noticed it was the divide, and I got it right away. But if I didn't, I had to go all this way to do elimination. And so this working that I did here is the same here. So I just did it a little bit different. So watch the trick sometimes in math. You divide by 2, it makes the equation smaller and easier to deal with. Or you could multiply by the 2 and keep working. So that's solving word problems by using elimination and substitution are the main 2 to do. So, and that's 4 word problems on number. I'm going to do word problems on age and money and interest, a mixture, a whole bunch of word problems, different videos. So if you like what I'm doing, click the like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell, because there are more videos coming your way. Visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find out more information about me, my videos, and the content that's going to be on my YouTube channel, Math Fully Explained. And thank you for viewing my video. Bye-bye.